Hey everyone, welcome to your daily Defiant Dispatch. I'm Maritza Giorgio in for Miles Taylor. I think I got that right. Let's bring in Xander Schultz, co-founder of Defiance.org, to make sure I am not messing this up. Hey Xander, how you doing?
Hey, Miles Taylor is quickly becoming our Mitch McConnell.
I love that. Where is he? We need to put his picture on a milk carton, right?
He'll be
Yes.
back soon, gang. Don't worry. He's okay. But
Yeah, people are like, okay, we're sick of this lady.
we
Where's
need
Miles?
I'm definitely going to make an AI picture now of Mitch's wife and Miles.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, I think you should make sure that he has like the same problems with his glasses and he's holding a newspaper with today's date. We have so much to get to today, and we're going to talk all about the slush fund. And, the thing is, Xander, if you don't call it a slush fund, if you call it something totally else, that's fine, right? We're going to get into all of that. We're going to break all of this down because there is another fund that we need to be talking about. But first, let's do some rapid fire defiance. Does that sound good?
It sounds great. Let's get into it.
Dolly, my dog just came in. She wants to join us for this rapid fire defiance. Okay. A new Reuters analysis found federal judges have ruled against the Trump administration on First Amendment grounds in 75 separate cases just during Trump's second term, guys. That's compared with 13 such losses for the Biden administration. So these rulings span free speech, press freedom, and religious liberty, with courts repeatedly finding the administration retaliated against critics, media organizations, universities, law firms, you name it, pretty much anybody that goes against the president.
Yeah, 75-13 is not the scoreboard you want to be up on in this case. And we're only 2 years in. Biden had a full 4 to amass those 13. All right. A federal appeals court ruled the Trump administration improperly terminated the Biden-era Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, a multi-billion-dollar clean energy program created by Congress. The ruling is temporarily paused while the EPA asks the Supreme Court to intervene.
Yeah, so we'll watch that one. We'll see how that goes. I'm not going to be happy about that. I'm sure from the White House, we might even see some True Social posts and a 10-foot satirical Iran war participation trophy for the generation of participation trophy winners like you and myself. It's mocking Donald Trump. It's now on display in Lower Manhattan after first appearing on the National Mall in DC. The installation awards Trump for his enthusiastic involvement in the Iran war and invites the public to add their own mock honors. So really just A for effort here. Really just putting yourself out there. You're really trying here to participate in something.
The mock statues have quickly become one of my favorite types of defiance. Remember the little girl staring down the bull in Wall Street?
Yes, loved that.
Occupy movement. That was fantastic. It's always an awesome art is just unbelievable in general as a medium to defy fascism, and I love the statues. So the FBI Agents Association, joined by former FBI and Justice Department officials, has backed a lawsuit challenging the firing of agents who worked on the Trump election interference investigation. The legal briefs argue the dismissals were politically motivated, and undermining FBI independence by punishing agents for carrying out lawful assignments.
Yeah, every time this stuff happens, I'm always like, where are the lawyers? Because I have always been aware of something called wrongful termination lawsuits. And so we're starting to see that come to roost. And 5 transgender federal employees have filed a class action lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's ban on insurance coverage for gender affirming care. Now, this suit argues that the policy illegally discriminates against transgender workers by covering the same treatments for other medical conditions while denying them when they're related to gender transition. So that is a new class action lawsuit we will watch for, y'all. All right, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do it. That's a great way to start it. Shout out Mercedes for coming up with that addition to our show. I just feel so good rolling into our show with that.
Yeah, it gets our energy up, and I get like the afternoon sleepies right about now. So that's a good way to start us off. Okay, so this morning, after months of hand-wringing, seemingly endless empty threats from holdouts in the Senate, Todd Blanche advanced through the Senate Judiciary Committee on his way to becoming official Attorney General, not just acting Attorney General.
Dang, I had some "You Grew a Spine" awards I was hoping to give out in that Senate Judiciary Committee. I guess we're gonna have to wait for another day.
Well, you can go display them in New York next to the participation trophies.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, these are waiting for you guys. When you decide you want your John McCain thumbs down moment, they're here, ready for you. So as we've well covered, this all comes after holdouts from Senators Cornyn and Tillis. And they wanted Todd Blanche to sign this document stating that he would not advance Trump's $1.776 billion slush fund, anti-weaponization fund that many said this is just going to be payout for January 6th rioters. But yesterday, we saw that really didn't mean much to Trump at all, really. In fact, he sat in the Oval Office yesterday, take a look, and continued to celebrate the fund, leaving little breadcrumbs that it may or may not be dead. He also went on and on and on about how sad it is that he can't accept gifts that amount to millions of dollars and that he's entitled to those gifts, all while the woman next to him, you can see shook her head, no. But he still got that plane, Xander. He still got that plane.
Yeah. It just lets you know, like the psychosis that we're dealing with it's a trust fund kid that also has a psychosis on top of just the mental illnesses that come from being a really wealthy trust fund kid, that he just deserves and is entitled to it all. It's just his. It's just his because it should be his, and it's always been his. But I'm happy that woman was there to remind him that it's not, and remind us all that it's not in the background.
I remember going out to just like appetizers and drinks with somebody who was in a previous administration, and I was going to buy it just to say thank you. And they're like, oh, no, I can't, like, not a drink. No, I can't.
Yeah. Miles and I have
just,
talked about that before. We jumped through hoops to make sure the food we were serving people was cheap enough so we could legally serve people food when we would have these. We used to run these design thinking workshops to try to get left and right to come together around solutions in Washington. And we would get people the shittiest of salads because we were worried about, any
stay
sort
under
of
the
corruption.
threshold.
Exactly.
Well, it's all seemingly out the window. But if that wasn't frustrating enough, someone's already talking about this in the chat. I have something else to show you. Okay. After advancing Blanche out of committee, the former holdout turned Jello spine, Senator Cornyn was asked about Trump's continued pressure to keep this fund alive. Remember, he said he didn't even look at the deal, okay? So Xander, everyone here live with us, we're going to just do some deep breathing exercises before we show this clip, okay? We're going to get in our Zen space. Deep in, deep out. Okay. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's watch this.
As recently as yesterday, that he likes the idea of this fund, that he wants to find some way to pay these people. Does that concern you as someone who's tried to fight against getting this anti-weaponization fund in place?
Well, there's nothing we could do to rein in the president when he said he likes the fund and he wishes it still exists, but the fact of the matter, it's dead. And that's all we could do under these circumstances. See you all.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, there's just nothing they can do, Xander. I mean, if only our forefathers had seen this coming and given Congress power in Article 1 of the Constitution to have checks and balances over the executive branch. Imagine if they would have done that. Where we would be.
What if there was some sort of process? You know what, though? I'm in some ways, Marita, I'm so happy this is all happening that we can't. I think one of the mistakes we made through the first Trump administration is not fully acknowledging the rot writ large in these institutions, in the people who are currently holding power, how beholden they are to their own ambitions and the people funding their campaigns and whatnot. And it's like, it's become this in the second administration. Obviously, the story is Trump. Obviously, the story is his corruption. But I think we've seen an institution, on the right that's all too willing to go along with it, and on the left that's not willing to fight against corruption hard enough and call it out by name. And so we know there's a turnover that needs to take place outside of the top. And we see it over and over and over again. And we're not buying it anymore because we can follow along like never before. It's easier to provide on if these people are actually following through.
Well, and you bring up a good point, and I co-host Grounded with John Tester, and I don't know if any show goes by of ours that he doesn't bring up campaign finance reform and getting the huge big money and the dark money out of politics, because we really see it in every one of these issues, how it's impacting just the control the money and the power has over these lawmakers. But for him to say there's just nothing they can do.
Yeah.
That's just that. Why are they there?
I
Why
think,
are we paying them to be there if they're not going to do their jobs?
100%. I think almost saying control, though, gives them too much credit. It is a partnership. They want power.
Yes.
They want to be a senator. They've opened themselves up for sale to continue to be a senator. They've been willing to go against their moral instincts or even their intellectual, capabilities to understand the situation. Obviously, no one thinks $2 billion to a bunch of guys who pled guilty for invading the Capitol to try to stop the certification of an election is a good idea. No one thinks that's a good idea, other than someone who's trying to build a loyal army like Trump. So it just lets you know that there's been a partnership going on for some time that has worked out well for both parties, the corporations, the other people enriching themselves in our system, and these policymakers who, up till now, I don't think we were able to show how nakedly ambitious they were. But Trump, because of how ambitious he is and the ridiculousness of the stuff he's pursuing, is showing how ambitious they are, that they're willing to go along with these things.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And before we move on, Xander, let's just discuss one of the more enlightening remarks that we heard rejecting Blanche's nomination. And it comes from the dissenting opening opinion delivered by Senator Whitehouse. So in front of the committee, not only did he outline Blanche's horrific track record as acting AG, because he has a track record, remember, but he dialed in on a detail that we really haven't dug into yet. So let's listen to what he said.
Are we supposed to do a breath beforehand? Did we miss that? Are we supposed to do a breath before every video?
So you guys remember how Mercedes' internet is really not great this week. I think that's what's happening.
That's one of those moments.
And I'm looking to see. I think I can. Oh, here we go. Oh boy.
Oh, the spinning wheel of death. I know this.
Oh
one.
no, spinning wheel of death.
I've been stuck on this screen before.
Oh no. Let's see if I can play it.
If this doesn't work out, Maritza signed up to do a puppet show for each video.
In the cover, continues to participate in the cover-up and is responsible for a massive screw-up of the release of the. They looked at 4 FBI 3 who told the FBI in a formal statement that she had been sexually assaulted and physically assaulted by Donald Trump around 13 or 14 years of age. Of those 4 302s, they released one, the one that did not mention Donald Trump. Well, fortunately for transparency, these documents had been released in other areas and bait stamped. So people figured out that some were missing. And with that, the other 302s that mentioned Donald Trump had to be produced. Only because they got caught were those 302s produced.
Yes.
And right now, as we sit here, Todd Blanche is still sitting on 30 votes, off of which the 302s were taken. So next we get to this crooked slush fund Trump family tax amnesty scam. We've got these 2 new pieces of paper, one signed only by Todd Blanche, one not signed by anybody, neither of which has any legal effect.
Uh-oh, we are having some issues.
We're getting through it. We've had worse connections with guests before we got through it. So,
I don't know why this clip is kind of not doing so great though. So let's just pull it. Let's just pull this clip. How about that? because this is just not working. But I think you get the deal here.
Yeah.
So, he's talking about 302s. Those are these FBI forms that are basically like summary reports used by the FBI to log statements and witnesses. So he's bringing up that and just kind of the continued cover up over the Epstein investigation, the Epstein files, not doing justice for the survivors. But Senator Whitehouse also brought something up called the Judgment Fund, and I don't think we quite got to that because he was about to talk exactly about what this is, but we just, the clip was not playing very well. So, Xander, do you know what the Judgment Fund is?
I know what judgment is. I haven't heard of a judgment fund yet. We sit in judgment a lot here. I don't know about a particular fund.
It's how much y'all pay me to sit here and judge everybody in this administration. No, I wish that would be really easy money. Okay, so this fund is something that's actually existed for 70 years, you guys. It was established by Congress in the 1950s, and it exists basically to fast track appropriations, payouts for individual lawsuits won against the government. It's meant as basically a solution to avoid interest piling up on those payments as they are made. So for decades, this has largely been used exactly as intended. So paying out settlements to veterans, federal employees, businesses, everyday Americans who successfully sued and won, sued the government or reached a legitimate settlement agreement with the government. However, this fund is now ripe to once again be abused by this administration. And unlike the $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund, this one has no fixed spending limit. There is no ceiling.
Dang. Is there any way we could get a time machine? Go back to the founding fathers and be like, guys, they got really creative in the future. I know you did a good job, but there's all these holes they found. So this
I
one,
actually used to want to do that movie. I ran into Judd Apatow once and I totally chickened out, but I want to pitch him that movie. Like, can we go back to the founding fathers? Like, I don't think you're going to realize like the kind of weapons we have when you write the Second Amendment the way you do.
This guy's going to be so creative. Yeah.
I don't think you realize
like a great skit with them going back in time with like an automatic machine gun and be like, guys, it gets a lot more intense with these
guys. This is more than a musket. All right, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just so hold on, just to bring us back to what you're saying. So they don't even need to bring back the original fund to accomplish what they're setting out to do.
Yeah, no, not really. And now, I want to be clear here. Every analyst I've seen, like a legal expert and scholar, says, okay, well, he's acting AG. There's really not much more that's going to change with him being confirmed AG, right? It's a title. But Blanche's DOJ will officially be the one to maintain these dole outs of this money. And we've actually already seen this in use by this administration, right? We saw Ashley Babbitt's family get nearly $5 million. She was the protester on January 6th who was shot. We saw Michael Flynn. He received $1.25 million. Carter Page has been paid. Now, hundreds of J6 defendants are already lining up for the same thing here. 9 of them have already filed lawsuits. They're asking for more than $1 million each. And one Trump Justice Department official even told an ally that those defendants would receive millions, even if it took until 2028.
By the way, gang, Michael Flynn was charged with making false statements to the FBI, to the Russian ambassador, essentially being a spy. He pleaded guilty to this. So that's like the type of activity that we're rewarding in this country. All right. So voters, do we get a say in any of this? What's our role to play?
Oh yeah, there's a special election. It's today, so you better get to the polls. No, we don't get any say. There's no say. There's no taxpayer. I mean, you get a say in that we have freedom of speech, and you can contact your elected representatives. How about that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is something that needs to be highlighted more. And the deal is with this fund, there is supposed to be a certain amount of transparency involved here. So normally the Treasury Department's required to publicly show who's getting money from this judgment fund, who got paid, who represented them, what the settlement was for, what the claims were. That does not seem to be the case so far with Trump.
From the most transparent administration in history.
That's
what
right.
we're doing?
We heard former AG.
I don't know if you heard, Maritza, but Caroline.
I remember Pam Bondi telling us that this is he's the most transparent. Luckily, there are qualified people trying here to do something about it. So yesterday, this group called CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, filed a lawsuit accusing the U.S. Treasury of hiding that information. And they're actually bringing up something you just brought up, Sander. They are alleging that the administration has been replacing names with vague descriptions, making it nearly impossible for taxpayers to know exactly where their money is going. They actually point to that $1 million+ payout to Michael Flynn as proof of abuse because, like you said, Flynn had already pleaded guilty and his lawsuit had already been dismissed here. Yet, still, the Treasury Department withheld that payment information. $1 million out the door.
I think one thing that's jumping out to me is as much as we're joking around about going back to the founding fathers and fixing the Constitution, there's not really reforms around an administration willing to so recklessly go after their ends in defiance of what the Constitution either said or intended to get across, and a political party that's not willing to hold them accountable. Like this needs to be a referendum on Congress. There's no way around this. To give a spy, maybe I'm using that term too liberally. That's just my kind of layman understanding of what Michael Flynn was potentially doing. $1 million for his troubles. By the way, in regards to his relationship with Russia, who's doing one or two bad things across the globe right now, it's not like he was, speaking to a neutral party. It is unbelievable. But again, I don't want to express too much outrage or not outrage. Outrage is fine, but just too much shock. This is what is happening in our country. This is what they are doing. This is part of his attempt to build a personal militia and army that's loyal to him outside of the official systems. And it doesn't completely surprise me that they're getting creative on how to do it now that they were turned back in one way.
Yeah, and I think that's why if we go back to Senator Cornyn's comments about there's nothing they can do, why that's so discouraging. Because, I know when some of these Supreme Court decisions are handed down and people say, well, now what? Like, how do we get out of this? I mean, I think about Citizens United. That was 16 years ago. And people are still trying to find ways around that and pushing back. And it's not easy and it doesn't happen overnight. But Congress is one of our mechanisms, one of the levers we can pull for oversight. And so for him to say, well, there's nothing we can do, we don't have any control over him, we don't have any say, I mean, that tells me that Congress has fallen. And we cannot accept that. We just cannot accept that. And it's one more reason why this election this November is so critically important. And I will again say, you need to reach out to your networks, folks. Make sure people are registered to vote. Make sure that they have ways to get to the polling places or get their ballots in. This is so important.
We need that check for sure. Well, gang, if you want to feel better about this useless Congress, I was on another phone call with our friends, Latasha Brown from Black Voters Matter and Rich Logis from Leaving MAGA today, talking about building the left-right coalition around shared principles. Because we are in this moment where so many people are depressed about how corrupt our system has become, and so we're making headway on what that can look like, and starting from a position of a really broad ideological coalition that hasn't been working together since Bacon's Rebellion in the 1600s. So we're on the case, gang. We're trying to make it happen.
They're on the case. The mystery machine is on the case. They're out there in full force. I'm sorry, that was a mean joke. All right, we talk about elections. Today is Tuesday. It means it's another big primary day. It's leading up to these ever important 2026 midterm elections. There are primaries in 5 states today: Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Virginia, and Washington. But today's primaries are a lot bigger than just the candidates. And we want to go to Click on Detroit for this full story.
We'll be watching today as the election monitors being sent from the Department of Justice. Local 4 Shanti Passmore dug into what the monitors will be doing throughout the day.
Good morning, everyone. So Detroit is one of 4 cities where the DOJ is sending these election monitors, and their sole purpose is to just watch and make sure that voting rights are being followed. In no way are they allowed to interfere or even handle the ballots. So Local 4 can confirm that federal monitors will be in Detroit, Hamtramck, Lansing, and East Lansing. For the 2026 primary election season, Michigan is one of 6 states where the DOJ is deploying federal election monitors to 15 jurisdictions. The DOJ says the monitors are being sent to areas with a history of election-related concerns. The League of Women Voters tells us having these monitors is not evidence of either voter intimidation or that voters will have a challenge casting their ballots. Meanwhile, though, we're learning the Detroit NAACP will be keeping close tabs as well.
We're going to be monitoring the monitors. We have monitors who are going to be out there tomorrow. We have a team of lawyers, because if there is some misbehavior or if people get in the way to stop you from voting or to intimidate you, we're prepared to take people to court.
Hell yeah. I like that guy. Monitor the monitors. Also, places, they're sending these monitors to places that have had election-related concerns. Well, if you listen to this president, that's every place in America, because he still goes on about the big lie. If hearing all of this makes you a little bit uneasy, we get it. Under a normal Justice Department, federal election monitors are not unusual. But I mean, both Republican and Democratic administrations have done this. Their job is to observe compliance with federal voting rights laws. But this just feels a little bit different because of the big lie that the president continues to push out over and over and over again, despite more than 60 courts saying, no, there's nothing here.
Yeah. One of the best signs of a failed state is the creation of shadow institutions, or a failing state, meaning like unofficial civic institutions that citizens are having to create. Oftentimes these are like in the form of mutual aid networks because of a failed social safety net. But this is a different type of example. You know, you've seen it in kind of know your rights training and how neighbors are learning how to defend each other in lieu of actual police officers, protecting their neighbors. And this election protection work is more of the same because of an antagonistic federal government.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you brought up Know Your Rights, because we're going to get into that. That's part of this whole conversation. In addition to getting out the vote this November, you need to know your rights. This is a Justice Department that has repeatedly amplified, debunked claims of voter fraud, and it's been accused of using its own power to target political opponents. As the gentleman in that clip said, we are going to monitor the monitors, and that is the mindset we should have. And like we've seen with ICE and other situations, I'm blanking because there are so many that I could choose from right now. It's hard to pick just one, but we do need to know our rights. So one final thing before we move on. Our friends over at the Campaign Legal Center, one of Defiance's partner organizations, they've put together this excellent resource, basically how to explaining exactly what federal election monitors can and cannot do. We have it here up on the screen for you, because here's the thing. Federal election monitors cannot stop you from voting. They cannot challenge your eligibility. They cannot interfere with your voting process at all. Their role is to observe. It is not to administer the election. It is not to touch your ballot. It is not to have anything to do with you. They are to observe. So if you are voting today in one of these states, or come November, or you have another primary in another state coming up, or if you're volunteering at the polls this fall, read through this. Go take a look, share it with others. Knowing your rights is one of the best ways to protect them. And we will link to this document in the chat right now. And I also want to just throw out there, remember that it is illegal to have armed federal officers at polling places. So you need to know that too. If you see that, you need to say something.
There's so much about this moment that is the expansion of the oppression that we've reserved for certain communities in this country. I was just thinking about what we can learn from the Black organizers in the 50s and 60s that so frequently had to deal with this type of voter intimidation, really since the Civil War, right, with the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. But there's unfortunately a long history of oppression in this country, and the ways that communities that oftentimes don't have so many resources have been able to fight back, affirm their right, and make it through these moments. And so we have so much to learn from that. I mean, that comparison extends through, oftentimes we're saying this is the violation of our Bill of Rights, the way the Trump administration is behaving, but you have communities that are arrested, with cash bail as a pretense for how they could be, free until the trial. But if they don't have money, they're guilty until proven innocent. They spend 5 minutes with their public defender day of the trial. And so they don't have a right to an attorney that we say you have a right to. Most of them are coerced into a plea deal, so they're never judged by a jury of their peers, in which we supposedly have a right to. And so there's so much of this moment that is an expansion of the way we've oppressed communities, just to say it one more time. But because of that, there's also a lot we can learn from on how certain communities have fought back in the past.
Sarah's asking, say something to who? I'm going to say your local elections administrator, your Secretary of State, post it on social media, like get tag influencers, tag people with large audiences. We all just need to be kind of watchdogs this fall as we head to the polls. Okay.
And one of the things we're going to be doing coming up is we're going to have a group on to train us on how to be poll watchers. Defiance as one of our weekly missions sometime in the near future. Great. We're working out when that happens. Literally right here on one of our weekly missions, we're going to have trainers on that actually demystify what it means to poll watch. Because I know we toss around that term pretty liberally, as if everyone knows what that means and what that entails.
You all know.
Will you watch the poll already? Just watch it. I know it's confusing. So we're going to have someone on to really help us walk through that.
Okay, so we're about halfway through. We want to cover something that we didn't get to yesterday. And I'm so glad we were covering this, because this really had my jaw on the floor Sunday after I watched this. And this is RFK's appearance on Dana Bash's State of the Union on CNN. So Xander, we are both parents. What I'm about to say is of concern to us and to every parent. And also, if you're just a human, you have people you care about in your life. You have people who are immunocompromised. You have people who you don't want to get sick. All kinds of reasons to care about this, right? Right now, the United States has now surpassed its highest number of measles cases in 30 years, more than 2,300 confirmed cases so far this year. And health officials are warning that outbreaks are popping up all across the country as childhood vaccination rates continue to fall. In Delaware alone, officials went from their first measles case in more than a decade to a declared outbreak just 2 days later.
If only we could have foreseen this. If there was some sort of institution, maybe called USAID, that was charged with getting in front of potential pandemics by kind of having a global lens on where they might be breaking out and how to get ahead of them, plus other institutions. Why is this happening, Maritza? What do you think?
Well, any number of things. I'm sure it's that Mercury's in retrograde. No, right now, physicians are pointing to a major culprit in misinformation. One Delaware physician put it bluntly here. He said that the debunked claim linking vaccines to autism created a lot of confusion for people. This has been I have heard this fight for decades now. And then we have COVID-19, which supercharged the confusion and the misinformation and the spread of that misinformation. And now we're really seeing the consequences here. So doctors say the measles vaccine is actually becoming somewhat of a victim of its own success, because a whole generation of parents, they just never saw how dangerous it can be because the vaccine worked so well.
I was wrong. It's dumber. I thought it was the USAID. It's dumber than I thought. I thought it was the USAID Doge defunding. Dang, it's just.
I'm sure Doge didn't help this. Yeah, Doge didn't help this. Okay. I'm going to go on a limb and say Doge didn't help here. I when my grandma was little, they think she had polio. They never, it was never confirmed, but that was something they had to deal with. Right. When's the last time you heard about that? Because vaccines worked.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I honestly feel like this is problematic everywhere. I think it's one of the I've said this before, one of the challenges of talking to people who are a little disengaged on the threat of Trump is like, because he's been stopped. It's because we're not all sitting in an El Salvadorian jail right now. And because all the talk show hosts aren't off the airwaves, and because there's not, armed federal police walking around our cities. There's a challenge when systems are working to then advocate for those systems or the dangers of not having them, for sure.
Well, we don't want it to that's the hard thing, right? We don't want to hit total rock bottom. We want people to wake up now. This news all came out on Sunday, the same day HHS Secretary RFK Jr. appeared on State of the Union with Dana Bash. This interview was just, unbelievable. Like, I literally riveting interview because it was so shocking. Over the course of it, he blamed Dr. Anthony Fauci for the country's COVID-19 response. He revived the debunked claim linking vaccines and autism. He refused to take responsibility for the country's measles outbreak or any part in it at all, and repeatedly clashed with Dana Bash over basic public health facts. He also talked to her about her responsibility and blamed her for so much of what we're seeing right now and the trouble, and blamed her for COVID response. And at one point, she had to apply some very significant pressure to RFK. Let's watch.
Never question the efficacy of the MMR vaccine.
Okay, let me finish.
What
I want you to do is please use your bully pulpit to right now, as we're getting close to back to school, are you willing to say to parents who have not vaccinated their kids that they should vaccinate their kids for measles because it is safe and it will help them save their children's lives?
We tell people on my websites, my public
right now,
I'll
look
say
into the
it right
camera
now that parents should get their children vaccinated for measles. A measles vaccine is effective. It stops measles in about 97% of the cases. Well, people should get vaccinated.
Can I ask you?
Okay. So we finally got there, but it took a lot to get there, right? And at one point during this conversation, he said to her in a very patronizing way, "Well, you just don't understand. You're not a scientist." And Dana Bash said, "Well, neither are you."
We should have shown that clip.
Epic. Epic.
It made him seem kind of reasonable.
Like, bravo,
I'm happy.
bravo.
I've been saying for years that Dana Bash was the cause of the pandemic, so I'm happy RFK was brave enough.
Yeah, it's all on. And CNN, all of them. Yeah. So it might seem like he stood up there and did the right thing. But I mean, you saw what it took. And it comes after a long line of misinformation and dangerous policy changes. And our next guest says that's exactly the problem. And I can see him off screen. And I saw him nodding along there when RFK finally got to the point of like, yes, this is a safe and effective vaccine. One sentence into a camera does not erase years of spreading misinformation or the rest of this interview. So joining us now is Dr. Rob Davidson. He's a Michigan-based ER physician, and he is the executive director of the Committee to Protect Healthcare, also the co-host of Paging America. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Davidson.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Xander, take it away.
Oh, all right. I got the first question. Dr. Rob, why did Dana Bash create the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I think he was throwing it at anyone he could think of, and obviously Fauci. Just looking at that clip, like, welcome to the Big Tent, RFK Jr., I guess, right? Better late than never. But he's like, his part in all of this, at HHS, certainly it's been a part of it, right? Because they have, even on the website that Bill Cassidy wanted them to leave up, saying there's no link between vaccines and autism. There's a little asterisk saying this is there because of an agreement with Cassidy. The ultimate troll of Bill Cassidy. Yeah. So, but like, it's years of RFK Jr. Sowing mistrust, and you had said misinformation. I think there's just flat out disinformation. I think it's intentionally, for some reason, intentionally causing harm. And so I don't think we welcome Bobby Kennedy into the fold and say, hey, you're forgiven. You said get your vaccine. I do think people who may identify as MAHA. MAHA is a term that's only been around for 2 years. It was a political slogan when RFK Jr. ran. So most people in the MAHA movement, they like, I don't know, I wasn't MAHA before, but I did care about, childhood obesity and wellness and parents with kids with autism just looking for answers. And the problem is MAHA influencers like RFK Jr., like Casey Means, the failed previous nominee for Surgeon General, like folks who operate in that space and are making money, like grifting off of MAHA, those people should be publicly shamed and not welcomed into polite society. But like parents who listen to it, looking for answers, like desperate, why is my kid sick? Why is my kid not well? I don't blame those folks. It's really terrible.
Right.
They prey on those folks. But hey,
Well, and the deal, I mean, you
just-
should be able. Oh, sorry, Xander. Go ahead.
It's all right. This is the Zoom era. What ends up happening?
Yeah.
It's so inorganic. I just had a quick follow up on your question where you said like you don't know why he spreads misinformation. With a lot of what the administration does, it's kind of clear that it's a grift or it gives them some power that they were searching for. This is less so. I have like a harder time figuring out what RFK's advantage is here. What is your other than maybe to be a like thought leader and he gets
I have a theory. I have a theory here.
We talk a lot about it on our show. It's coalition management. I mean, really what Bobby Kennedy brought was a group of voters, MAHA, to MAGA, right? And helped get Donald Trump reelected. Now, I think he has misinterpreted what the base, what the roots of MAHA are is about true wellness, right? People actually care about the environment. People care about pesticides and he sold them out on pesticides. So the only thing he can anchor to, and Trump, there's reporting, I think last week reporting that Trump was pushing him to stay on this path of, looking for links between vaccines and autism, even though the pollster has said, hey, don't talk about that stuff. It is not popular. So essentially it's trying to manage that coalition of MAHA and in some ways for him to keep a job, because if he is not useful to Donald Trump in keeping that group of people in the tent, like I don't think he lasts very long, and there's a lot of talk that he won't.
My conspiracy theory is that you do not grow up a Kennedy without some baggage and some childhood trauma that you have to sort through. And I think there's something there about being, Bobby Kennedy Jr. and not living up to maybe the name and needing to be somebody that lives up to the name in his own eyes. And I will say too, it's not like he came out and said, oh, all of these vaccines are safe. He just said MMR. He still went on about the others. And so I was kind of like going over some of your posts, Dr. Davidson. And I mean, you posted about this whole idea because Bobby Kennedy was saying in that interview, we really should have listened to frontline doctors during COVID-19, during the pandemic, because that would have helped us. And he said at one point there were empty ICUs in New York City in the very beginning. I mean, I just don't remember it like that. I covered COVID extensively. I mean, how do you respond as a physician who was a first responder during that to hear this just rewriting of history?
It's crazy because for myself, for docs I talk to both at work and through the work with the Committee to Protect Healthcare, none of us want to like be hero worship. None of us really want any of that. Like, hey, we signed up for it, we lived through it. We do sit and talk about it. Like, what a strange thing we all kind of experienced, in our professional lives. Like, it is very strange, right? There are doctors before, doctors after who will not have experienced that. But for him to invoke frontline doctors and saying, well, if we had just listened, right? The reasons we had, we saved any lives when we listened to the frontline doctors and not to Donald Trump giving his daily reports out of the West Wing, telling people, I don't have to wear masks, and this thing will be gone in a few weeks, no big deal. It's barely a flu. And then he admitted to Bob Woodward behind the scenes, oh no, I knew it was a lot worse, right? So because we listened to people on the ground actually, and folks in the media, exactly the opposite of what he accused Anna Bash of, like hyping it up. Like they were just like saying, what is actually going on? I was just reviewing some reports from December of 2021 in a hospital 5 miles north of me in Muskegon, Michigan, where they had to bring in refrigerated trucks, right? We've heard stories of that all over the place as mobile morgues because they couldn't handle the capacity of people dying. And the callousness with which people kind of misremember what really went on, the collective trauma to to us as healthcare workers, but to communities, right? To families and communities. I think it's really easy just to memory hold this and pretend like it wasn't truly as bad as it was at times. Were there times? I mean, our hospital was empty at times because nobody was going out and doing anything. And at that moment, that couple of weeks, COVID wasn't too bad, but 2 weeks later, bam, fill up. And it was just where you happen to hit it. And these kind of amateur investigative journalists will go around with their iPhone saying, look, the parking lot's empty. It's all a lie. It's like, okay, we'll drive 10 miles to your west. You'll see, lots going on. Terrible.
That was one of the challenges with COVID. I was living in Manhattan when it broke out, and we had those mobile morgues, right next to us for a while. And we ended up leaving, and they were like, we were staying with friends all over the country, basically, because we're like, is this another 2 months? Do we sign a new lease? Okay, let's just go hang out with these. So we ended up doing this like tour of the US, and it was so uneven. How people were coming from New York, especially New York. It's not just how you got hit, but when also. It was like so unknown. Right. You were getting these horror stories out of Italy, and China wasn't saying anything. So you just didn't know what you were dealing with at that time. So it was so uneven. That was a huge challenge. But look, it's not just with measles, right? We have our first 2 confirmed deaths with cyclospora. Yeah. And there's this saying that a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth's still getting its shoes on. Yeah. When it comes to medical advice, can we do more to helps the truth speed up, or at least chase down those lies? Because we have doctors, because we have professionals that people do come into contact with on a regular basis. What can we do to right the ship here with this information?
Yeah, I mean, in an outbreak scenario, we had Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis, formerly of the CDC, on our show talking about like the number one job of public health is communication. Should be all the time. I mistakenly say, well, public health happens behind the scenes. When you don't know what's going on, right? And you're able to just go eat whatever you want and you don't get sick. But he corrected me and said, no, it should be out there all the time, maybe at a level 5. And then when you have an outbreak like cyclosporiasis is happening all over, especially in Michigan, you go up to a 10 or an 11, and really amp it up, because communication is your friend, like letting people know what's going on. The problem is, I think 2 weeks ago, RFK Jr. was on record quoted saying it's under control. And the fact is, it's not. Just saying it's under control doesn't make it under control, right?
It's so reminiscent of the Chernobyl. I was just watching that Chernobyl documentary, and like how many people died because the Soviet Union couldn't admit publicly that they screwed up.
Right. And like no one, if you just say this is really challenging, we are doing our best. Here's what we think so far. Here's what we need you to do. Wash your lettuce. Maybe don't eat this lettuce. Restaurants here, be on attention. Honestly, like we would all say, okay, this is a crisis. You are sharing the information. It's just like if any service you go to in life, if someone just lets you know, hey, it's going to be a little bit longer, here's why, you say, oh, okay, I can handle that. If they tell you, be right back, we got it under control. And then, 30 minutes later, you're still waiting for your milkshake or whatever. Then you start getting pissed off, like, okay, what's going on here? So these guys are just, they can't admit any fault. They can't acknowledge that we want to work with you. I don't like you that you're there. We opposed you being there, but you are there, RFK Jr. You are heading HHS. We want you to do a good job because it helps all of us, right? Helps our communities. I think the other thing they've been really good at is taking health insurance away from people and making it so that people can't go to their doctor. And there's great reporting just this year that people who have a primary care doctor are much less prone to misinformation and disinformation because they have somebody they can go to, somebody they trust. As the spouse of a family doctor, I can say, like, that is your anchor, your home for information. If you don't want to go, and search the internet and who knows what you're going to find, it's a cesspool in some of the platforms. You can go to your primary care doctor. Well, unfortunately, this administration has made it so that having a primary care doctor increasingly is difficult for folks in this country.
You bring up so many great points. And I mean, we should be able to go to the HHS secretary and trust the information. But it reminds me of the first administration when the president was talking about the reason we had so many cases is because we keep testing. If we quit testing.
Oh my gosh. I like, it's like a recurring nightmare, that voice and saying that. If we just stop the testing, we won't have the cases. It's like, I mean,
that's not how
it's true. It's sound logic. logic.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, it's true.
Yeah,
If you don't test them,
so-
you're not going to have positives.
I guess my question for you, I mean, like in the first administration, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, but there were guardrails. There were people like Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, all these people kind of with guardrails looking out for everybody. And now we have RFK as the secretary, and this interview with Anna Bash was just one example of some of the things and the disinformation, like you said, that he's put out. So what happens? We have cyclospora, but what happens if we got another, COVID-19 pandemic or worse tomorrow? And then I think about red states in many cases that gutted local health departments or took away their teeth as far as like enforcing some public health measures. So what happens and what should we be doing just kind of as citizens to protect ourselves the best we can?
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately it does come down to zip code or maybe what state or what county you live in, because it kind of depends. And there has been just a very unfortunate tracking of kind of party affiliation with this adherence. It's not like a big revelation to say that. We saw it play out. We see it in data now at the tail end of COVID after vaccinations. Party affiliation very much associated with decreased vaccine status, associated with higher mortality from that. So I think we hope and pray, right, that this doesn't come to pass, a pandemic in the next couple of years. I think, and part of our work at our organization and at the Paging America is looking at the ballot box and what can people do. Well, okay, we can't do anything about RFK Jr. at the ballot box this time around. We can certainly have a Congress that is empowered to do real oversight, right? To bring him in, bring others in the administration saying, okay, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Just hold their feet to the fire nonstop, constantly have real hearings in the Senate Health Committee, not fake hearings about abortion pills, trying to say somehow they're dangerous. That I think is really important. I think that's critically important. I think that's going to be, for us, a big part of our work starting in 2027 is kind of that piece of oversight of, what are they doing inside these entities when they should be protecting us? They're doing something else. I mean, the secretary is going to, as a cooking show now, instead of managing outbreaks. The guy who said, I'll eat anything because I don't have a gag reflex as a cooking show. That is just something wrong, man. Something wrong.
You're in danger making that statement, even if you're not the
Yeah, you're going to clip that, right? Yeah.
Information I did not need ever, by the way.
How'd you find that out, buddy? All right, so.
Wow. My people are gonna be like, how'd you get on that? How'd you go with those guys?
Yeah, how'd you get on this show? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I want to give you a chance before you go to talk about your work and where people can find you. But before there's this thing I got to ask beforehand, because you spoke about how MAHA was always kind of like this tenuous coalition for Trump. Anyways, it's filled with a lot of like formerly progressive people that I think rightfully felt betrayed by our medical industry and our food industry and what's been able to go on for some time, even before, Trump. And in terms of like, we talked about building the too big to rig coalition, in terms of people most likely to defect, that felt like a demographic that's so ripe for it because they were never aligned with Trump fully and because they've already been betrayed so completely.
Yeah.
What is the work to turn the MAHA coalition back into allies in the fight for a kind of pro-democracy movement?
I'm so glad you asked that. And I'm going to refer to an Atlantic piece last Saturday by Dr. Craig Spencer, a friend of mine out in Rhode Island. He's the guy who survived Ebola back in 2014. And he's an ER doc, an epidemiologist. And he wrote a piece that is actually getting a lot of pushback in the public health world. And the title of it is Public Health Needs MAHA. And he's gone to like MAHA meetings and just talked to people. He's like, people aren't talking about vaccines. They're talking about pesticides. They're talking about food quality. They're talking about childhood illnesses. So I think it isn't slogans. It isn't like going to the door, giving them like the elevator pitch on why you are deserving of the vote, the support, what have you. It's like actually doing the work. You know what MAHA cares about? Rising insurance costs, rising healthcare costs, right? They care about 3 million people leaving insurance because of the ACA subsidies going away. They honestly care about the Medicaid cuts, $1 trillion of Medicaid cuts. So you show them, right? You bring hospital CEOs, you bring pharma CEOs, insurance company CEOs, you bring them before Congress and you have hearings and say, how is it that you're making, hundreds of millions of dollars a year? How are your shareholders making all this money? And yet people can't afford insurance, right? Cigna has announced they're leaving certain markets because of the cost of them insuring people in markets. How is it that this is your business model? Meanwhile, 3 million people left insurance altogether at the beginning of 2026. You show them, and then you pass legislation that benefits people. It starts with restoring the what they took away, the ACA subsidies, the Medicaid, but then pushing even further, right? Like pick your flavor. I mean, our organization's North Star is truly.
But don't pick red number 40 as your flavor. Or
there you go.
Yeah, whatever the hell else they're allowing in the flavor. For sure.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, now
you can show people. Yeah.
As promised, I want, before you jump, where can people find you? What's the name of the organization? Let people know where they can continue following this great work you're doing.
Yeah, the Committee to Protect Healthcare is committeetoprotect.org. If you're a healthcare professional in particular, you want to join up. We're kind of a grassroots organization of healthcare professionals building power for our patients. Like one of the only healthcare professionals / doctor groups building power for patients, not for ourselves. And the goal is truly universal healthcare, so that people don't have to choose between food and healthcare. And then on the media side, like at Paging America, I think we're on the Substack with you, but we have a podcast every Thursday. We have a Monday show called The Situation Womb, which is all about reproductive healthcare. Just did an on-call about Todd Blanche saying he wants to make Dobbs happen across the country if he becomes the Attorney General. So to find out kind of the news of that intersection between health and politics and how really what you do at the ballot box is going to influence your life when it comes to your healthcare.
There's just so much great information. Thank you so much for all the work you were doing and for coming on here and helping us kind of understand this and unpack this and at least commiserate a little bit about what we saw.
There is something about that, right? There's healing in communities, so that's good. That's a good use of time. I appreciate your time.
All right, Dr. Rob Davidson, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Later, buddy. All right. We got a new health correspondent.
The best. So great.
That was
so
sweet.
Great. Even with your dirty joke, it was good. I don't know. There's just something about RFK too. I mean, all the headlines, right? Like the jokes write themselves. We don't have to even say them. They write themselves. There's just so much to talk about there.
Is that a backhanded way to say don't say that joke anymore? We don't have to say him, Xander. You don't have to say him.
No, I like it. I think it's pretty good. It's low hanging fruit, right? It's low hanging fruit. I mean, there was a whole rabbit hole that the political journalists went down last year over one of the RFK scandals, but it's kind of inside. I don't know how many people followed that along, but it definitely falls in line with your joke.
All right. Well,
I know more about him than I need to. Let's change the subject.
Yeah. We're heading down the home stretch here with who's joined the Defiance. And today we are meeting the TikTok creator and Marine Corps veteran who goes by the name of Gunny Speaks Out. And this badass mofo, right?
Look at that.
This is kind of who I want to transform into. I think I'm halfway into this transformation. I don't know if my wife would approve the motorcycle, but this is where I'm headed, gang. This guy drives around the country sporting a variety of anti-Trump flags on the back of his motorcycle and patiently waiting for someone out there to fuck around and find out. What does that mean?
What does that mean? I think we're gonna find out.
Okay. Which, lucky for him, is something Trump supporters do quite often. So he films his interactions owning MAGA zombies on the streets and shares that content to his following. So clearly, our friend Gunny does not need any new welcome to the Defiance. However, during one of his recent videos, after running into what he thought was just a routine run-of-the-mill Trumpy, it turned into a new welcoming of Defiance.
All right.
I've seen you all over there. Let's see. Donald Trump is a disgrace to the United States. God bless America. God bless the Gulf of Mexico.
Look here.
Thank you, sir.
Look here. I signed it too.
You signed it? Oh man, that is amazing.
I've seen you on Facebook and everything. I just seen you in there. I had to stop. So
Hey, thank you so much, sir.
we're going to do something, but
We are,
God
man.
lost his ever loving. I'm soon be 70, and I've never seen it like it in my life.
Me either. Oh yeah,
It's every day is something different.
sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
Have a good one,
You
sir.
too,
Isn't there something? There's something restorative about seeing those interactions here. That 'cause I think there's a lie. I guess what am I trying to process here? I don't know if it's a lie, but there's a narrative that the rise of Trump is fueled by a bunch of people that will never be converted, that are driven and animated by racism and hatred and sexism and all these things. And it's just when you see, I think, earnest challenges and earnest defections, it makes you remember that there's a lot of people that penned very reasonable and valid hopes on an outsider to shake up what was already a pretty corrupt system, that are reacting reasonably and rationally to the truth that this guy is a charlatan and a bad actor.
And I think that also this encounter teaches us that we might make assumptions about people and their belief systems just based on how they look or what they're driving or what they're wearing. And we can't do that. We can't do that. Mercedes, we definitely know what fuck around and find out means. I think that we just didn't know what it meant in this context. Like, you know.
Like, is he boxing all the people he encounters?
Oh, sorry.
Like,
it was Megan. Megan's in it. So she's like, she goes, you guys didn't know what that means. No, we knew what it means. It's just like, what does he mean? Like, what is he like? Wait, he's waiting for this moment. Like, what is he gonna do?
It didn't feel so metaphoric. He had huge muscles.
Right. Like, oh boy, like he looks like a real life Popeye. Okay, like he is.
I know he was trying to convert people one ass whipping at a time.
Right. Like, I'm gonna show you. This is how you're gonna vote. But I think these are like they are good lessons for us to just see everyone's humanity. And I know you've done so much work in that space, Xander, and it's really inspiring.
Yeah, with mixed results. I'm not always as gracious as that man right there, but I'm coming around to it. And it has been inspiring. You just being with other people and seeing the humanity in everyone. All right, gang, that's it for the show today. It's 3 p.m. my time, 6 p.m.
Do we have
Eastern.
any questions or anything? No.
Oh, do we have any questions? Let me look down. Sorry, gang. I don't want to close it out before the Q&A.
I also want to say, I mean, I'm kind of new to this community, like being a regular, but I did see in the chat, everybody at the very beginning was so excited that Igor was back. And Igor said he's been recovering from surgery. And so we just want to say welcome back, Igor. And I hope your recovery is going well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if every place on Substack is like this because I'm kind of new to the platform also, but our comments are like the most positive place on the internet. Our community is so overwhelmingly positive and wonderful. So while we look for questions and comments for a second, just a reminder that tomorrow's the monthly member meeting. 5 p.m. Eastern, same time as this thing all the time, but it's a Zoom. It's for members only. It's where we get on and chat about what we've done recently, what we're going to do. We come together and share information about how to do so. And so, if you're a member, please join the monthly member club. You help craft the future. We follow your marching orders to figure out what this club should take on next. And so please, please, please come if you can.
I made a big mistake. Nope. Igor's a she, not a he. I'm so sorry, Igor. We're so glad we're so glad that you're back and that you're doing well. All right.
I'm sure that's not the first time Igor's dealt with that online. Sorry about that, Igor.
Sorry.
All
Igor.
right, friends. Until next time, Maritza, you want to sign us off?
No, it's your turn. I've messed up too much today. Let's do it. You do it.
We say, stay brave, stay loud, stay together in some order. That's what we say. All right. I'll see you next time.